Is Aditi Lumba with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts students and parents should not consider exams the end of life. Interacts with students, parents and teachers at first virtual edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha. Prime Minister shares mantras to overcome stress and anxiety. Asks students not to fear exams but celebrate them. Mr. Modi tells parents not to pressurize children and let them enjoy exams. Cabinet approves production-linked incentive scheme for air conditioners and LED lights worth 6,238 crore rupees. Centre allows COVID-19 vaccination drive at public and private workplaces from 11th of April across the country. Over 8 crore 70 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far. Chhattisgarh government to impose complete lockdown in capital Raipur from 9th April in wake of steep hike in coronavirus cases. Punjab government extends night curfew to entire state. Also bans political gatherings till 30th of April amid rising COVID-19 cases. Campaigning intensifies in West Bengal for fourth phase of assembly elections. RBI keeps repo rate and reverse repo rate unchanged. Retains GDP growth projection at 10.5% for fiscal year 2021-22. And Railways achieves highest ever scrap sale earning of over 4,000 crore rupees in 2020-21. As the number of COVID cases are on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners not to lower the guard, take all the precautions, and all those above 45 years to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asserted that students and parents should not consider exams as the end of life and always try to do better in the next attempt. Engaging with students, parents and teachers at the first virtual edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha, Mr. Modi shared his mantras to overcome stress and anxiety.
एक बात मैं जरूर देशवासियों को भी बताना चाहता हूं और गार्डियंस को बताना चाहता हूं, टीचर्स को बताना चाहता हूं। ये परीक्षा पे चर्चा है, लेकिन सिर्फ परीक्षा की ही चर्चा नहीं है। बहुत कुछ बातें हो सकती हैं। एक हल्का फुल्का माहौल बनाना है, एक नया आत्मविश्वास पैदा करना है और जैसे अपने घर में बैठ के बातें करते हैं, अपनों के बीच बात करते हैं, यार दोस्तों के साथ बात करते हैं।
The Prime Minister asked the students not to fear exams but celebrate them.
हमारे यहाँ एग्जाम के लिए एक शब्द है कसौटी, मतलब खुद को कसना है। एग्जाम तो एक प्रकार से एक लंबी जिंदगी जीने के लिए अपने आप को कसने का उत्तम अवसर है। जीवन को गढ़ने का एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है, उसे उसी रूप में लेना चाहिए। हमें अपने आप को कसौटी पर कसने के मौके खोजते ही रहना चाहिए ताकि हम और बेहतर कर सकें।
Mr. Modi also asked the parents not to pressurize the children and let them enjoy exams.
मैं पेरेंट्स से कहना चाहता हूँ, हम आवश्यकता से अधिक ओवर कॉन्शियस हो जाते हैं, हम थोड़े ज्यादा ही सोचने लग जाते हैं। ये कोई आखिरी मुकाम नहीं है, ये जिंदगी बहुत लंबी है, बहुत पड़ाव आते हैं, एक छोटा सा पड़ाव है। हमें दबाव नहीं बनाना चाहिए, चाहे टीचर हो, स्टूडेंट हो, परिवारजन हो, यार दोस्त हो। अगर बाहर का दबाव कम हो गया, खत्म हो गया, तो एग्जाम का दबाव कभी महसूस नहीं होगा, कॉन्फिडेंस फलेगा, फूलेगा।
The Prime Minister asked teachers to guide students on time management. While interacting with Punyo Sunya from Arunachal Pradesh and Vinita Garg from Delhi, the Prime Minister suggested that students should divide their attention and energy accordingly towards each subject.
स्टूडेंट से मैं यही कहूंगा कि आपको अपनी एनर्जी को इक्वली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना चाहिए। सभी विषयों में बराबर बराबर। आपके पास पढ़ाई के लिए 2 घंटे हैं, तो उन घंटों में हर सब्जेक्ट को समान भाव से पढ़िए। अपने समय को इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करिए। वहीं टीचर्स के लिए मेरी सलाह ये है, वो विद्यार्थियों से उनको टाइम मैनेजमेंट के संबंध में, उसके तौर तरीके के संबंध में, सिलेबस के बाहर जाकर के भी कभी उनसे बातें करें, उनसे चर्चा करें, उनको गाइड करें.
The Prime Minister also said a student should always try to attempt the difficult topic in the beginning and devote more time to it. He added that hard subjects and topics must be done in the morning before jumping on to easier topics because the mind is fresh and concentration is sharp. He asked the students not to run away from difficult subjects as anything can be accomplished with hard work.
जो सरल है वो पहले करें, ये आम तौर पर ये कहा जाता है और एग्जाम में तो खास तौर पर बार बार कहा जाता है जो सरल उसको पहले करो भाई, जब टाइम बचेगा तब वो कठिन है उसको हाथ लगाना. लेकिन पढ़ाई को लेकर मैं समझता हूँ ये सलाह आवश्यक नहीं है और उपयोगी भी नहीं है. मैं जरा इस चीज को अलग नजरिए से देखता हूँ. मैं कहता हूँ जबकि पढ़ाई की बात हो तो कठिन जो है उसको पहले लीजिए. आपका माइंड फ्रेश है, आप खुद फ्रेश हैं, उसको अटेंड करने का प्रयास कीजिए. जब कठिन को अटेंड करेंगे तो सरल तो और भी आसान हो जाएगा.
Mr. Modi also highlighted the importance of spare time, saying it is essential for a day to not become monotonous and robotic. He asked students to devote their spare time in activities through which they can express themselves and develop their personality. He said creativity can take people to newer heights.
अगर आपको पहले से ही पता है कि मेरे पास खाली समय है तो आप अपने पेरेंट्स या अपने बहन भाई से कह सकते हैं कि मैं आपकी हेल्प करूंगा. दूसरा, आप सोचें कि ऐसी कौन सी चीजें हैं जो आपको खुशी देती हैं. थोड़ा भारी भरकम शब्द है स्वांतः सुखाय, जिसमें से आपको सुख मिलता है, आपको आनंद मिलता है, आपके मन को बहलाती है. आप ऐसा भी कुछ कर सकते हैं.
The Prime Minister requested the children to make a list of things they need every day and try to buy local products to strengthen the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Vocal for Local. He said the country is celebrating 75 years of independence as Amrit Mahotsav and he wants the students to write about freedom fighters and think about the next 75 years of the nation.
The Union Cabinet has approved the Production-Linked Incentive PLI scheme for white goods, air conditioners and LED lights with a budgetary outlay of 6,238 crore rupees. The prime objective of the PLI scheme is to make manufacturing in India globally competitive by removing sectoral disabilities, creating economies of scale and ensuring efficiencies. Addressing media in New Delhi after the Cabinet meeting, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said, the scheme will create additional 4 lakh direct and indirect employment opportunities. The Union Cabinet has also approved the Production-Linked Incentive PLI scheme, National Program on High-Efficiency Solar PV Photovoltaic Modules for achieving manufacturing capacity of gigawatt with an outlay of 4,500 crore rupees. The National Program on High-Efficiency Solar PV Modules will reduce import independence in a strategic sector like electricity and will also support the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative.
शुरुआत में प्रोडक्शन लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव स्कीम को अप्रूवल दी गई थी. उसके बाद 10 और सेक्टर्स का नवंबर 2020 में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में मंजूरी दी गई, जिसमें से 4 प्रोडक्शन लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव स्कीम्स पहले मंजूरी हो चुकी है और आज 2 और स्कीम्स को मंजूरी दी गई है. आज व्हाइट गुड्स यानी एयर कंडीशनर्स और एलईडीज की एक स्कीम अप्रूव हुई और हाई एफिशिएंसी सोलर पीवी मॉड्यूल्स फोटोवोल्टेइक मॉड्यूल्स की स्कीम. तो एक प्रकार से 6 और स्कीम होके 13 में से 9 स्कीम अभी तक अप्रूव हो गई हैं. बाकी 4 भी बड़े एडवांस स्टेज पे हैं.
The centre has allowed COVID-19 vaccination at public and private workplaces, having about 100 eligible beneficiaries from 11th April across the country. In a letter to the additional chief secretaries, principal secretaries and health secretaries of all states and union territories, Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan said, a substantial portion of population aged 45 years and above is in the organized sector of the economy and is involved in a formal occupation in government and private offices or manufacturing and services. Mr. Bhushan said in order to increase the access of vaccine to these population, COVID-19 vaccination sessions may be organized at these workplaces, which are having about 100 eligible and willing beneficiaries by tagging these workplaces with an existing COVID vaccination center.
The Health Ministry has said that over 8 crore 70 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine have been administered till now in the country. It said 1,15,736 new COVID-19 cases have been reported in the last 24 hours in the country. With this, the total cases have reached 1 crore 28 lakh 1,785. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan today said deplorable attempts are being made by some state governments to distract attention from their failures and spread panic among the people regarding COVID pandemic. He expressed alarm that many state governments have failed to take appropriate response measures and apply the lessons that nation has learned over the past 1 year of handling this pandemic. In a statement, the minister said a section of political leaders are asking to open up vaccination to everyone above the age of 18 or to drastically lower the minimum age criteria for vaccination eligibility. Expressing concern over such statements, Health Minister stressed that the primary aim of vaccination is to reduce mortality among the most vulnerable people and enable the society to beat the pandemic. The minister said a lackadaisical attitude of the Maharashtra government has bogged down the entire country's efforts to fight the virus. He said the lack of efforts of the state government is clearly visible and Maharashtra has the highest cases and deaths in the country as also one of the highest test positivity rates in the world. Dr. Harshvardhan assured all states that the central government is doing everything it can to help them. He said everyone has to work together to defeat the pandemic.
Union Minister Prakash Javadekar today said Maharashtra government should not play politics over vaccination. In a tweet, Mr. Javadekar said central government has replenished more vaccine than what is needed for actual use. He said that the total number of COVID vaccine supplied to the state till date is 1 crore 6 lakh 19,190. The consumption of vaccine amounts to 19 lakh 53,523, out of which 6% is wastage. Chhattisgarh government has announced complete lockdown in capital Raipur from 9th of April in wake of steep hike in coronavirus cases. The lockdown will continue till 19th of this month. More from our Raipur correspondent.
During the 10-day total lockdown in Raipur district of Chhattisgarh, the borders of the district will be sealed. Entry to the district will be permitted only through e-pass. Besides, commercial establishments, government and private offices as well as banks and educational institutions will remain closed. As well as public meeting and processions will not be allowed. Only petrol pumps, medical stores and LPG agencies will be exempt from these restrictions. In the Durg district of the state, a total lockdown has already been imposed from 6th to 14th April. Arrangements have been made for the virtual hearing of the cases in Chhattisgarh High Court. The state government has also banned the operation of passenger bus service between Chhattisgarh to Madhya Pradesh up to April 15. Vikalp Shukla, AIR News, Raipur.
Punjab Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh today ordered a total ban on political gatherings till the 30th of this month as COVID-19 cases continue to surge in the state. The Chief Minister said that violators, including political leaders, will be booked under the Disaster Management Act and Epidemic Act. Captain Amrinder, in his weekly review of the COVID situation, expressed concern at the high positivity and mortality rates in the state. The Chief Minister also announced extension of night curfew from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., which hitherto was imposed in 12 districts to the entire state. More from our correspondent.
After reviewing the COVID situation in Punjab today, Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh has announced to extend certain restrictions which were imposed after surge in COVID cases in this state. The schools and other educational institutions will remain closed till April 30 and extension in night curfew earlier imposed in 12 districts has also been announced. CM announced ban on political gatherings and said political leaders will be booked to violate the ban. Besides it, wearing of masks in the offices has been made mandatory and number of attendees in the funeral, cremation or wedding has been reduced to 50 indoors and 100 outdoors. Ashwini Kumar Sharma, AIR News, Chandigarh.
Chandigarh administration has also imposed night curfew from today.
In Gujarat, night curfew has been enforced in 20 cities from today to curb the rising coronavirus cases in the state. The curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. will be in force till 30th of this month.
Union Minister of Tribal Affairs Arjun Munda has tested COVID-19 positive. In a tweet message, Mr. Munda appealed to all the people who had come in his contact to get themselves tested for COVID-19.
You're listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts students and parents should not consider exams the end of life. Interacts with students, parents and teachers at first virtual edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha. Prime Minister shares mantras to overcome stress and anxiety. Asks students not to fear exams but celebrate them. Mr. Modi tells parents not to pressurize children and let them enjoy exams. Cabinet approves production-linked incentive scheme for air conditioners and LED lights worth 6,238 crore rupees. Centre allows COVID-19 vaccination drive at public and private workplaces from 11th April across the country. Over 8 crore 70 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far. Chhattisgarh government to impose complete lockdown in capital Raipur from 9th April in wake of steep hike in coronavirus cases. Punjab government extends night curfew to entire state, also bans political gatherings till 30th of April amid rising COVID-19 cases. Campaigning intensifies in West Bengal for fourth phase of assembly elections. RBI keeps repo rate and reverse repo rate unchanged, retains GDP growth projection at 10.5% for fiscal year 2021-22, and Railways achieves highest ever scrap scale of earning of over 4,000 crore rupees in 2020-21. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back to the evening news on All India Radio. With the completion of first three phases of assembly polls in West Bengal, campaigning is underway in full throttle for the fourth phase. Eighth phase election is being held in West Bengal this time. In the fourth phase, voting will take place on Saturday in 44 assembly segments spread over 5 districts: Hooghly, Howrah, South 24 Parganas, Cooch Behar and Alipurdwar districts. With just one day left in the campaigning for this phase, star campaigner and senior leaders of BJP, Trinamool Congress and Sanyukt Morcha are toiling hard to woo the voters. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah held 4 road shows in poll-bound areas of Singur, Domjur, Behala Purvi and Howrah Madhya to ensure victory of his party candidates. Trinamool Congress leader and Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee addressed an election rally in Cooch Behar Uttar Assembly constituency. Leaders of Congress, CPM and other parties also addressed a joint rally for the candidates of their alliance Sanyukt Morcha. Meanwhile, at the Singur Assembly constituency in Hooghly district, which will go to polls in the fourth phase, an intense straight fight seems to be emerging between the ruling Trinamool Congress TMC and the BJP. 4 candidates are in the fray in this assembly seat, which shot to limelight after TMC launched an anti-land acquisition stir against the then CPM-led government. The land movement brought the curtains down on the 34-year-old left rule in West Bengal. More from our correspondent.
Sitting MLA Rabindranath Bhattacharya, a turncoat from Trinamool Congress, is contesting this time on BJP ticket. Rabindranath Bhattacharya is representing this seat since 2001 assembly elections. The CPM, which is contesting under the banner of Sanyukt Morcha, has fielded student wing SFI leader Srijan Bhattacharya from this seat. Unemployment and lack of development are major issues of this assembly segment. One of the large-scale potato grower areas of the state, farmers of Singur are longing for food processing units for better price of their produce. Dharmendra Kumar Rai, AIR News, Singur, Hooghly.
The Election Commission has issued a notice to TMC Chief and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee over her remarks made in violation of Model Code of Conduct while addressing a political rally in Tarkeshwar in Hooghly on Saturday. The Commission has given Ms. Banerjee 48 hours to reply to its notice.
Director General of CRPF, Kuldeep Singh, has ruled out any kind of intelligence of an operational failure in the Sukma ambush incident in Chhattisgarh. In an exclusive interview with AIR News, Mr. Singh said the forces gave a befitting reply to the left-wing extremists and were able to prevent a heavy casualty.
There was an intelligence at Junabeda that Naxals have gathered. So we went for that intelligence to check and for search and destroy operation. That is called SADO. We went there, so we were operating on the intelligence. So it can't be said that there was intelligence failure. It was an intelligence on which the forces had planned an operation and went. So it was not failure at all.
Mr. Singh affirmed that the morale of the forces is very high and they are eager to be in the battlefields. Maoists ambushed a joint team of security forces on Saturday in the forests of Chhattisgarh, in which 23 security personnel lost their lives. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today urged all G20 members to ensure equitable access and widespread distribution of vaccines. Participating virtually in the second G20 Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meeting, Ms. Sitharaman shared that India is running an ambitious program of rapid domestic vaccination. She said India has emerged as key global producer of vaccines and medical products, especially during the pandemic. The Reserve Bank of India has kept the repo rate and reverse repo rate unchanged, announcing the bi-monthly monetary policy after the 3-day-long meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das said that the panel voted unanimously to keep the repo rate at 4% and reverse repo rate at 3.5%. Mr. Das said the committee also unanimously decided to continue with the accommodative stance. The bank also retained real GDP growth for 2021-22 fiscal at 10.5%. The marginal standing facility rate and bank rate also remain unchanged at 4.25%, adding that the evolving CPI inflation trajectory is likely to be subjected to both upside and downside pressures.
Soon, money kept in various cash wallets can be withdrawn from ATM and point-of-sale terminals. The Reserve Bank of India today announced this decision after a meeting of Monetary Policy Committee's meeting. Detailed instructions will be issued separately. More from our Mumbai correspondent.
At present, Reserve Bank of India has permitted 35 prepaid payment instruments, that is PPI. It includes Daily Metro Card, Amazon Pay, Phone Pay, Ola Money, MobiKwik Wallet, etc. Money can be loaded in these wallets, it can be transferred to another wallet or bank account, or it can be used to make payments during online transactions. Soon, money from these instruments can be withdrawn using an ATM. RBI's governor has made this announcement after the meeting of Monetary Policy Committee. Jeevan Bhavsar, AIR News, Mumbai.
Confederation of Indian Industries, CII, welcomed today's RBI's policy. Director General of CII, Chandrajit Banerjee, said the RBI did well to hold on to the policy rates while continuing the accommodative stance. Indian Merchant Chambers President Rajiv Poddar said the RBI policy is very pragmatic, which balances growth and inflation and yet prepares for the future uncertainties arising from the pandemic.
The RBI policy is a very pragmatic policy which balances growth and inflation and yet prepares for the future uncertainties arising from the pandemic. The policy has brought in a sense of relief to the economy as a whole by providing adequate liquidity in the financial markets, arresting any abrupt yield movement by initiating secondary market operations, providing headroom to state governments to increase limits under WMA, and ensuring financial institutions and intermediaries have the incentives to lend through refinancing and priority sector provisions. The policy has come as a positive sign for the bond markets.
The Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange today surged 460 points to close at 49,662. Nifty at National Stock Exchange also climbed 136 points to finish at 14,819. President Ramnath Kovind promulgated the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Ordinance 2021 on 4th of this month. On 31st of March, the Union Cabinet had approved the proposal to make amendments in the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 to the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Ordinance 2021. The amendments aims to provide an efficient alternative insolvency resolution framework for corporate persons classified as micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, under the code.
Agriculture and Farmers Welfare Minister Narendra Singh Tomar today launched Madhu Kranti Portal and Honey Corners of National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation in New Delhi. This portal is being developed for online registration to achieve traceability source of honey and other beehive products on a digital platform. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Tomar said Honey Mission will lead to increase in income of farmers, employment generation and increase in exports. Railways has achieved highest ever scrap sale in 2020-21. Through this sale, Railways has earned 4,573 crore rupees. Railway Ministry said Railways makes all out efforts to optimally utilize resources by mobilizing scrap materials and sale through e-auction. It said generation and sales of scrap railway material is an ongoing process and is monitored at highest level in zonal railways and in Railway Board. The ministry said Railway Administration makes all-out efforts to mobilize scrap materials and sale through e-auction.
Ghaziabad has become the 10th city in India and second city in Uttar Pradesh to raise municipal bonds of 150 crore rupees for construction of a tertiary sewage treatment plant. Secretary in Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Durga Shankar Mishra said, this is the first green bond meant for environmentally sustainable project of wastewater reuse. He said that this demonstrates the confidence of the market in municipal bond segment and is resounding validation of good governance in Uttar Pradesh. U.S. Special Presidential Envoy on Climate John Kerry called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. He briefed the Prime Minister on his fruitful and productive discussions over the last 2 days in India. He positively noted India's climate actions, including its ambitious renewable energy plans. He briefed the Prime Minister about the upcoming Leaders Summit on climate scheduled for 22nd and 23rd April. Prime Minister Modi noted that India is committed to meeting its nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement and that it was among the few countries on track to meet these commitments. Prime Minister agreed that cooperation between India and the US, particularly on financing innovation and faster deployment of green technologies, would have a positive demonstration effect on other countries.
World Health Day is being observed today. The day is aimed at creating awareness of a specific health theme to highlight a priority area of concern for the World Health Organization. In his message on the World Health Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called upon everyone to keep the focus on fighting COVID-19 by taking all possible precautions, including wearing a mask, regularly washing hands and following other protocols.
In hockey, India defeated Olympic champion Argentina by 4-3 in the first practice match in Buenos Aires yesterday. The second practice match will be held today. India will play 6th match in their 16-day Argentina tour, including 2 matches of FIH Hockey Pro League on 11th and 12th of April.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. National capital Delhi is likely to have mainly clear sky. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature will be 24 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is expected to be around 34 degrees. Chennai is expected to have partly cloudy sky. Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. Srinagar will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. Jammu will have mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Leh is expected to have generally cloudy sky with minimum temperature around -2 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 9 degrees. Gilgit will have generally cloudy sky with light rain, and Muzaffarabad is likely to have partly cloudy sky becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts students and parents should not consider exams as the end of life. Interacts with students, parents and teachers at first virtual edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha. Prime Minister shares mantras to overcome stress and anxiety. Asks students not to fear exams but celebrate them. Mr. Modi tells parents not to pressurize children and let them enjoy exams. Cabinet approves production-linked incentive scheme for air conditioners and LED lights worth 6,238 crore rupees. Centre allows COVID-19 vaccination drive at public and private workplaces from 11th of April across the country. Chhattisgarh government to impose complete lockdown in capital Raipur from 9th of April in wake of steep hike in coronavirus cases. Punjab government extends night curfew to entire state. Campaigning intensifies in West Bengal for fourth phase of assembly elections. RBI keeps repo rate and reverse repo rate unchanged, and Railways achieves highest ever scrap sale earning of over 4,000 crore rupees in 2020-21. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.